Well, on Monday, eNCA spent the day at various Home Affairs offices to assess the ongoing difficulties faced by citizens. PSA says the backlogs and queues are caused by system failures. The association's Claude Naicker now joining us to talk about all of these issues. Claude, a very good morning to you. So this sort of pronouncement by the Minister of Home Affairs talking about extending working hours into weekends. What's PSA's take on it? I'm assuming that it's not something that you would be on board with. You wouldn't be happy with this.
Well, yeah, it's a very good morning to you. It's not something that we're not happy with. It's just that previously when the department engaged in changing the shift patterns and extending the work hours, we asked the department to engage with us and they refused, and we had to resort to taking the matter to court. And eventually it arrived at the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court ruled that the department must engage with us if there's any change to the terms and conditions of the working hours of these employees. So over the past few years, we have been engaging with the department on trying to come up with a solution that where they can extend these working hours, but provided that they consult with us at the bargaining chamber. They are busy with that process. We haven't finalized that process. But I think quite likely, as you pointed out, you can have all these systems in place, the additional staff, the additional working hours. But at any given time, on any given day, if you walk into an Home Affairs office, you're always experiencing problems with the system. As of last week, we had quite a few of our members at one of the offices in KZN that they were taken hostage and they were put on the stage because members of the public were totally frustrated at the lack of service. But the lack of service was not due to staff not actually doing the work or the extending hours. We are of the opinion that if the systems are fully functional on any given time, during any given time, at any given office throughout the country, you will be able to manage the queues adequately. And I think it's something that the department has been grappling with over a number of years, and they haven't seemed to have got it right so far.
Well, if they don't get that right, and this becomes a possibility, Claude, that public servants are going to have to maybe work into the weekends, and if I recall correctly, the proposal was, of course, you wouldn't work on a Sunday, and possibly Mondays as well might become an off day, might form part of the weekend. How would you sort of welcome, or how would you envision or envisage that this might work? What would be your suggestions? Yes, of course, you speak of the system that doesn't work properly, but would you welcome that as a move? Would you be willing to work with that kind of arrangement?
Well, any move that would bring greater efficiency to the department and sort of serve the public in a better manner, we would welcome that. But obviously, we need engagement of how staff are going to manage the process, what will be the conditions of service. You must recall that previously we had a system in place where staff used to work on Saturdays and they were given time off during the week. They were also paid overtime for this. And it worked exceptionally well, but it came to a situation where the department couldn't work there or pay the overtime because of budget constraints. And we said to them, let's work with an alternative solution, but let's gauge on it so that we can go back to our members and say, this is the vision of the department, and this is what they're looking at. But all we're asking the department is to engage with us. I see they have put out the circular saying that they're going to propose a new shift system, but this hasn't been presented to the bargaining chamber. So we don't know the dynamics surrounding the new shift system. Once it's discussed at the bargaining chamber and there's a buy-in from the unions, I'm sure we can find an amicable situation with the department.
Well, where does this fit in your general discussion, not just with the department, but with the government in general then, Claude? I mean, you're already still fighting the freeze on your wage increases. We see that public servants threatening now that they're going to take industrial action. I understand that something's planned for Friday as well. So where does this fit in? I mean, how are you dealing with all of this? Are you even dealing with this in those talks and negotiations which seem to have come to a dead halt?
Well, extending, the hours of work would entail people have to make adjustments to their personal lives in terms of transport. This inevitably is going to realize that people will have to make other arrangements with transport if they are working extended hours, especially into the night. I see that the circular make provisions for right up to 10 o'clock in the evening. Normal public transportation in most places don't operate during those times. So this would mean added cost to employees. So we need to know what provision the department is going to make. And seeing that public servants have not received the salary increase for the whole of last year, right up till now, this is going to be an added expenditure. If they're going to work on Saturday, some of them are single parents. They'll need to obviously make arrangements for kids that are going to be left at home. If they're going to employ added services, this would mean added costs for individuals. So all this, with the extra costs on transport, taxi fares, it's going to have a cumbersome burden on staff. So this is going to have a severe impact. With that at the back of our minds, and when we get into the nitty-gritty or negotiate at the chamber, it's something that we're going to look at very critically.
Well, tell us about those broader negotiations very quickly then, Claude. I mean, we see, yes, there's plans for protests this week. There's plans for sort of industrial action, as I said. And I suppose, just listening to discussions out there, some people saying maybe, so far public servants have got above inflation increases. That's what's happened for quite a few years now. Should they not maybe just give a little, especially in these very tough times? And I know that the PSA has said, but look at all the corruption, look at where the money has gone. But considering the increases that have gone to public servants over the past couple of years, is there no room from your side to budge a little?
We're always willing to negotiate, but I think the stance is that we presented our demands as very early as of the 1st of March. The department hasn't come back with the tangible offer to put it on the table. What has been put on the table is a 0% increase. Yes, public servants have had increases in the past, but I think those increases have been eroded now with the rising cost of the things around you, with the tariffs on increase in electricity, fuel costs, and so forth. I think those increases have been eroded, so we're back to square one now. Negotiations are continuing. We're resuming negotiations on the 23rd of April in anticipation that the employer would come back with some offer that we can take to our members and say, this is what is on the cards. We're not sympathetic to the economic situation, or unsympathetic rather to the economic situation in the country. We obviously have to take that into account when we're negotiating, but we have to obviously negotiate with something on the table. If there's nothing tangible on the table, it leaves us with no option at the end of the day. We cannot continue negotiating, as the term we commonly use, continually begging for an increase. At time in the negotiations, we have to say enough is enough. And the only avenue that's left to us is industrial action. And we'll have to go back to our members and say, listen, there's nothing on the table. There's no increase. Are we willing to embark on industrial action?
Claude, very, very quickly for us, like you say, they're coming back to you on the 23rd, which is Friday, I think. What sort of will be the sort of straw that will break the camel's back for you there on Friday? I mean, will that be it, what you hear from them, and then you'll decide whether you'll go on industrial action or not?
Absolutely. There are processes that in place that we'll have to go back to our members and say, listen, this is what the employer's tabled or has not tabled anything. And then we'll have to obviously ballot and get mandating from our members or mandate from our members to decide on what feedback.
What must they come to you with on Friday?
Come back with something close or suitable to the demands that we've placed on the table itself.
Which is?
We ask for an inflation plus 4% increase. And hopefully that they would come with an offer in that range.
All right, thanks very much. We'll update on that one. Claude Naicker, thanks very much from the Public Servants Association. Friday is the day to watch this particular story. Let's see what happens.